Hello and welcome to Temple Update's live coverage of Election Night 2018. I'm Cassie, Semyon.
And I'm John Dowding. Polls here have closed on the East Coast and ballots are being counted in what both parties are calling the most important election in recent history. Voters were all out all over the nation today. Turnout among voters appears to be unusually high for midterm elections, with over 34 million Americans having cast their vote early by mail. We will be updating you on the results throughout the night here on TUTV and on all our social media.
The Pennsylvania gubernatorial race is one we are going to be watching closely tonight. Governor Wolf made his rounds this morning in his last-minute campaign efforts to rally voters. He was at SEPTA's 52nd Street station in West Philadelphia this morning, campaigning with Congressman Dwight Evans and other supporters. Later, he went back to York County to cast his ballot at his home precinct in Mount Wolf. Republican challenger Scott Wagner headed to his polling place at York College just as the doors opened to cast his ballot. Scott Wagner is former state representative who has run a mostly self-funded campaign against Governor Wolf. Now Temple Update will be bringing you live team coverage from both Wolf and Wagner headquarters. We now go live to Zuri Hoffman at Governor Wolf's election night party in York. Zuri?
Cassie and John, this is certainly a party, and I'll tell you, it's just getting started. Doors open to the public at around 7 o'clock, and now take a live look. This place is packed already. They're watching election results as they come in right on that big screen. They have a bar, food, drinks, the whole nine, and even coffee to prepare them for this long-awaited night. The cap for this event is at about 400, so a lot of people couldn't make it here this evening, but either way, win or lose, Tom Wolf will take to that podium you're looking at later on this evening when results come in. So, of course, we will keep you posted when that happens. And Wolf, Lieutenant Governor running mate John Fetterman is already here, so we should have a live interview with him coming up shortly. So with that, I'll send it back over to you guys in Philadelphia, and I'm live in York.
Thank you, Zuri. Now on to the other side of the battle is challenger Scott Wagner. Temple Update's Casey Baylor is live at the watch party for Mr. Wagner. Casey, what's going on?
Good evening, John. Now, the action has not started yet. You can't really see it right now, but behind me and to my right, there are many people coming in, filing in, coming down to get something to eat, mingling, and trying to find their seats. Now, Republican candidate Scott Wagner is expected to arrive soon. Now, for months, he's been campaigning with the slogan to fix Pennsylvania, and tonight he's here to thank his supporters. For now, reporting live from the Wyndham Grand Hotel for Temple Update, I'm Casey Baylor. John and Cassie, back to you.
Thank you so much, Casey. Now, we won't just be focusing on races in Pennsylvania tonight. We will be focusing on some key races from across the country.
That's right, Cassie. Let's take a look at my home state of New Jersey. We will be focusing on two races there. We'll be watching from the Garden State. Senator Bob Menendez is running for re-election against Republican Bob Eugen. And in the House, we are watching the 3rd Congressional District, where Democrat Andy Kim is challenging Republican Representative Tom MacArthur.
Now let's head down south and take a look at Georgia. Democrat Stacey Abrams is running against Republican and current Georgia Secretary of State Brian Kemp for governor. If elected tonight, Abrams will be the first African-American woman elected to the governorship in the entire United States.
And another race to keep a close eye on is the governor's race in Florida. Republican Representative Ron DeSantis is running against Democrat Andrew Gillum. They are running to replace current Governor Rick Scott, who is running for Senate.
And across the Gulf, another important race is in the Lone Star State. Republican Senator Ted Cruz is looking to defend his seat against Democratic Representative Beto O'Rourke. O'Rourke would be the first Democrat to represent Texas in the Senate since 1996.
And in Tennessee tonight, Republican Representative Marsha Blackburn faces off against former Democratic Governor Phil Bredesen. Taylor Swift actually put a spotlight on this race, announcing her support of Bredesen over Blackburn last month.
And a high-profile Senate race coming out of Missouri is Republican Josh Hawley challenging incumbent Democrat Claire McCaskill. The president has visited Missouri, a state he overwhelmingly won in 2016 twice in the last 2 weeks of the campaign to stump for Hawley.
Just a couple more. Let's take a look at North Dakota. Democratic Senator Heidi Heitkamp will be fighting for a second term against Republican candidate Kevin Cramer. This race will be key for Democrats if they hope to maintain their current balance in the Senate.
And finally, let's take a look at Arizona. Democrat Kristen Sinema and Republican Martha McSally are looking to be the next senator of Arizona. The seat is currently held by Senator Jeff Flake, who is not seeking re-election. Now let's take a look at what's at stake here for Congress. All 435 seats are up for re-election in the House. Either party needs 218 seats to win a majority. Things are a little bit different in the Senate, where only 35 seats are up for re-election, and Republicans would need to win only 9 of them to keep control.
On the other side of the aisle, the real struggle for Democrats will be holding on to seats in the Senate. They need to hold on to 28 seats to take control, a tough challenge considering the Republicans only need 9. Let's take a look at the current makeup of the Senate. Republicans are holding 51 seats currently to Democrats' 47. The remaining 2 seats are being held by Senators Bernie Sanders and Angus King, who caucus with Democrats. And politicians were also casting their ballots today. All around the nation, politicians went with their families to vote. You can see some of them there, including Beto O'Rourke, Joe Biden, Brian Kemp, Lou Barletta, and Bob Menendez.
Voting in Pennsylvania has been very different from years past, with newly redrawn districts. For more on this, Andrew Young is in the election center. Andrew?
Yeah, Cassie, last year the Pennsylvania Supreme Court declared that the old district map was unconstitutional. That's that map right there. And approved a new state Supreme Court map this year for the first election with these updated districts. Temple professor of political philosophy Michael Hagan sat down with me to tell me how these updated districts will impact the election. With both Democratic Senator Bob Kaicey and Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf up for re-election, today's voting stakes are high for both parties. But one major change to Pennsylvania elections could have an impact on the outcome. In 2017, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that the current district map for the state was unconstitutional, later being redrawn from the current map to this new markup. Temple Associate Professor and political scientist Michael Hagan sat down with Temple Update to tell us how these new rules may impact the election.
One of the most interesting things about this election from Pennsylvanians' point of view is to see how the new districts pan out. They were drawn with different criteria in mind than the districts drawn by the legislature, and so we'll see whether they produce different results.
Temple University also now lies on the border between the newly drawn 2nd and 3rd Philadelphia districts. Separated by Broad Street, this move could see North Philadelphia voters receiving more sway in the coming vote.
Well, it seems likely that Philadelphia voters, having been spread among a larger number of districts now, will have, in some respects, more influence over the outcomes of these elections than in the past.
Though the new map may improve some parties' chances in this upcoming election, Professor Hagan says the redistricting won't last.
A new map will be drawn in response to the 2020 census, so there will be new districts drawn in advance of the 2022 congressional elections. So this map, at most, will be around for only 4 years. So we haven't heard the last of this issue in Pennsylvania, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see the true effect of the new districts after tonight's results. Stay with Temple Update for the latest updates as results roll in. Cassie and John, back to you.
Now we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Ultimo's Rafael Logrono will be on the desk with an update for our Spanish-speaking viewers.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Quédese con nosotros.
Hola y bienvenidos a la cobertura especial de los resultados de las elecciones de medio término, en vivo en TUTV. Soy Rafael Logrono de parte del equipo de Lo Último. Comenzamos con la información sobre los latinos votantes. Un nuevo estudio realizado por el Pew Research Center encuentra que el 55% de los latinos votantes dicen que están mucho más entusiasmados para votar en estas elecciones que en el 2014. Solo 27% de los hispanos votantes votaron en esa elección. Eso dicho, 62% de los votantes hispanos se identifican con el Partido Demócrata. Esta elección tiene el potencial de ser histórica. Las contiendas para el Congreso incluyen ciertos estados con unas elecciones que pueden ser decisivas por el voto latino. Carly Matthews habló con estudiantes universitarios sobre las elecciones y la representación hispana en el gobierno.
El país votará en las elecciones midterms el 6 de noviembre. Más candidatos latinos han declarado candidatura este ciclo como demócrata Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez en Nueva York y republicano Carlos Curbelo en Florida. Para muchos, como estudiante de tiempo utilio tencio, la representación de su comunidad es lo más esencial cuando votan.
Especialmente hoy en día que hay mucho latino, mucho hispano que se está mudando a los Estados Unidos. Así que necesitamos más representación, más gente en el gobierno que nos pueda ayudar.
Atencio vino a los Estados Unidos de Venezuela cuando tenía 8 años. Ahora estudia la medicina en Temple como su amigo Carlos Romero, quien también es de Venezuela y se importa la representación de varias culturas en el gobierno.
Te das cuenta que gente que está en el gobierno muchas veces sin quererlos, tú sabes o no, ellos tratan de ayudar o representar la gente que se más parece a ellos.
Las elecciones midterms están muy importantes para la población hispanohablante, pero el país entero también.
Atencio y Romero quieren usar sus voces durante la elección del 6 de noviembre y Atencio tiene un pedazo de consejo para todos.
Todo el mundo debe votar, no importa si eres republicano o si eres, bueno, lo que te provoque. Pero vota.
Atencio también dijo que porque su familia enfrenta discriminación cuando hablan español, él espera que los resultados de esta elección cambien el futuro del gobierno. Durante la noche estaremos cubriendo las contiendas gubernatorial del Senado y local y el estado de Pensilvania, además varias nacionales. Esto es todo lo que tenemos por ahora. Después del corte, Cassie, Semyon y John Dowding de Temple Update estarán en el estudio. Para el equipo de Lo Último, soy Rafael Logrono.
Now, ABC and CNN are both projecting that Governor Tom Wolf has won re-election tonight in Pennsylvania.
And when we come back at 8:30, we will check in with both of our reporters at the Wolf and Wagner campaign headquarters to see what is happening there and to check in. Again, that is at 8:30 when we come back.
Temple Update will continue to bring you coverage throughout the night. Be sure to keep checking in with us for the latest midterm updates.
For Cassie, Semyon, and the rest of the Temple Update team, I'm John Dowding. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Welcome back to Temple Update. We have a key race alert for you. CNN and ABC News are projecting that Governor Tom Wolf has won the Pennsylvania governor's race.
Now we have team coverage across the state tonight. We have Casey Baylor standing by at Wagner headquarters, but first we go to Zuri Hoffman, who is live at Wolf campaign headquarters. Zuri?
Cassie and John, when they announced that, you heard a big cheer in this room. So with that, I'm joined now live by Frank and Rick Snyder. They're with the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO of Bloomingdale, who represent union men and women in Pennsylvania. So guys, NBC News is reporting that Wolf is the projected winner. How do you guys feel?
Ecstatic, because we can continue the 4 more years of the great work the governor's been doing.
Yeah, this is terrific. It's an exciting night, a stunning victory, sends a clear message of what Governor Wolf stands for. And the people of Pennsylvania were thrilled with his past 4 years and going to be thrilled with his next 4 years.
Why do you guys choose to back Wolf as the candidate for this governor's race?
Because from the very first time that we met him, he talked about social and economic justice for workers, appreciating organized labor, respecting what unions can bring to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and just looking out for the middleman and women.
Like Frank said, look, from the very beginning, he gets it because of the business he ran. He knows that if your workers make a good wage, they're going to work harder for you. And his support of collective bargaining rights, union rights, the ability of people to organize and have a say at work, a voice on the job, just made it really easy for us to support Tom Wolf.
All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. With that, we'll send it back over to you all in the studio.
All right, well, thank you so much for that, Zuri. And now we're going to toss to Casey Baylor, who is at the Wagner campaign. Casey, what's going on? What's the feeling like?
Yeah,
John. So it's starting to pick up some steam here. We still have some more people strolling in, and it's starting to get a little bit crowded. So I decided to scope the room and see how people are feeling tonight. So with me tonight, I have Sandy Riebling and Jean Riebling. So can you guys just tell me, what are you guys feeling tonight? What are the emotions in the room?
We're excited. We're excited because Scott Wagner is going to be our next governor.
Yes, we can't wait for Scott to be the next governor, change things in the state of Pennsylvania. A lot of old folks won't be leaving their homes like they used to because of the tax reform.
Now, it was just projected that ABC and NBC have just projected that Governor Tom Wolf may win the election. What are your thoughts on that?
We're praying not. A lot of people are for Scott because he's for the middle-class man and he cares about people tremendously. We didn't see any change in Pennsylvania with Wolf.
Yeah, we're looking for a change here in Pennsylvania, and Scott Wagner's the man to do it. We've been canvassing for him. Yesterday we spent 3.5 hours on the telephones calling people and urging them to vote.
So, well, it's a lot of support here, and so I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio, and next I'll come back with more updates here at the party. John, Cassie.
Thank you so much, Casey. And we have another key race alert for you tonight in Florida. With 90% of the vote counted according to CNN, Andrew Gillum and Ron DeSantis are basically neck and neck. That's 90% of the vote being counted. There's 49.2% of the vote for Andrew Gillum, the Democrat, and 49.6% of the vote for Ron DeSantis.
And we also have another key race alert as well. With 15% of the vote counted, it looks like Brian Kemp, the Republican for Georgia governor, is ahead of Democrat Stacey Abrams. For Governor Brian Kemp has 64.3% of the vote so far, and Stacey Abrams having 35.2%. Again, that's only with 15% of the total votes counted, and these are both coming from CNN.
Now, it's still really early in the night, John. We're going to continue to update you throughout the evening here at Temple Update with all those key races that we've been talking about. But for now, we're going to send you back to your regularly scheduled program. Welcome back and thank you for joining us. You're watching Temple Update. I'm Cassie Semyon.
And I'm John Dowding.
We are covering the governor's race from across the state tonight. First, we're going to head to Zuri Hoffman, who's at the Wolf campaign. Zuri, what is going on there since he's been the projected winner? How is he feeling? How is the crowd feeling right now?
Yeah, Cassie and John, folks in here have had their eyes glued to that big screen and to that podium, of course, waiting for Tom Wolf to come on out and for final results to roll in. Take a live look at just how many people are in this room, of course, crowding around that podium and the screen. You hear the cheers coming in. Anxious is definitely the right word to describe what we're seeing right now as these folks are waiting for, again, results to be finalized and, of course, anxious for their candidate to win. Of course, according to a Wolf staffer, his team will come on out at around 9:30 to address the crowd. So again, these folks are awaiting that and awaiting for their candidate to win. So with that, we'll send it back over to you guys in the studio.
Thank you so much, Zuri. We'll be checking in with you in a half hour. Now let's head over to Kaicey Baylor, who's live at the Wagner campaign headquarters. Kaicey, tell us what the feeling is like in the room right now.
Yeah, Cassie, the energy is still high, and right now many are continuing to watch those polls, waiting for those numbers to come in. Spoke with a few people, a representative from Wagner's team who has no doubt that Wagner will win this election. What they do is that the Democrats will take over, and they're fearing these other elections happening across the state. They fear that the Democrats will take over control, and there will be they will focus more on legislation they're focused less on registration, and will focus more on the investigation of the Trump administration. Now, we're still waiting on the man of the hour, Republican candidate Scott Wagner, and his representatives from his camp have not announced when he will be arriving, but the assistant campaign manager did speak and thanked the crowd for the support thus far. Now, I'll be back with more when we return. John and Cassie.
Thank you, Casey. We also have a race alert as well for PA Senate. ABC News has said that Bob Casey is the projected winner of the PA Senate race. And also right across the river in New Jersey, ABC News as well as the Associated Press are projecting that Bob Menendez, the Democrat, is the projected winner of the NJ Senate race. And he is the incumbent who is facing off against Republican challenger Bob Hugin. Bob Hugin as well has conceded, so it is official that Bob Menendez is the winner in the NJ Senate race. We are also getting more numbers and getting more information in about the Texas Senate race. This is against current Senator Ted Cruz as well and his challenger, Democratic Representative Beto O'Rourke. And we will bring you more information as we hear from that. And it looks like with 49% of the votes counted, Beto O'Rourke is leading Senator Ted Cruz 51.6% of the vote to 47.7% of the vote, with Senator Ted Cruz behind in an extremely red state. But again, it is only with 49% of the votes. Now looking at the Florida governor's race, it seems that with 96% of the vote counted in the Florida governor's race, that Ron DeSantis has inched ahead of Democratic challenger Andrew Gillum. Right now, Ron DeSantis has 50% of the vote, and looking now at the Georgia governor's race with 27% of the votes being counted, it looks like Brian Kemp is ahead of Democrat Stacey Abrams by a measurable lead in the Georgia governor's race. Again, we will be bringing you more numbers as we get them coming into the studio.
Now let's take it back home to the Keystone State. Let's look at some local Pennsylvania congressional districts. In the 2nd District, Brendan Boyle is the projected winner. He is currently the incumbent. He was facing off against David Torres. According to the Associated Press, he has been named the winner of that race. Now let's look at the 3rd Congressional District. Representative Dwight Evans has been named the winner by the Associated Press against challenger Brian Lieb. And of course, we have even more local races in the PA 181st State House District. We're going now live to Renee Cunningham. She's at Malcolm Kenyatta's party. He's running against Milton Street for that position. Renee, what can you tell us about the environment there in that room?
I'm here at the Malcolm Kenyatta watch party where he is hoping to secure the 181st District seat. I'm here with the man himself. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good.
How has this experience been for you?
It has been, I always say, the most rewarding and most difficult thing I've ever done. We knocked on tens of thousands of doors, made, countless phone calls, and today I think out of 63 polling places, I personally got to 59 of them. And so we've been all around the district talking to people and just trying to get out the vote in the last couple hours.
So awesome. So how are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good.
How are you feeling the atmosphere? Everything is great.
It's really rewarding to have people in here who have supported us financially, through their time, through their treasure, and to have them all here to celebrate this victory that's really their victory. Nobody runs a campaign and does it by themselves. It's because people believe in your message. They believe in what you're trying to do, and I have so many people in this room that believed in this campaign when it was in its infancy. When people said to me, "You think you can win this?" Folks in this room strongly said yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This atmosphere for today and it's such a great time.
Thank you so much, Renee. And you know what, John? We are so lucky here at Temple Update to work in a bilingual newsroom. And for the very first time tonight, we're bringing viewers live returns in Spanish.
Vamos a empezar con eso. Tenemos Freixys Casado en el estudio con nuevas noticias sobre las elecciones por todas partes del país. Freixys, ¿qué está pasando?
Muchas gracias, John. Bueno, pues ahora mismo te voy a hablar de Pensilvania y es que ya tenemos algunos números, algunas proyecciones de qué es lo que está sucediendo. Como ven, aquí está el mapa de Pensilvania, así que vamos a ver para la carrera del gobernador. Por ahora se proyecta, esto de acuerdo a ABC, se proyecta que Wolf es el que lleva la delantera, es el que se va a quedar con esta posición de gobernador para Pensilvania. Estas son las proyecciones. Ahora, si pasamos al Senado, tenemos a Kaicey como el que está siendo proyectado también para llevarse esta carrera. En cuanto al Senado de Nueva Jersey, Menéndez es el que se proyecta, bueno, es el ganador porque Huggin pues desistió de su posición, o sea que ha decidido renunciar a aquello. Menéndez es el que se va con ella. Si nos vamos ahora a la Casa de Representantes, distritos 2 y 3, los demócratas son los que llevan la delantera en esta carrera. Eso es todo por ahora. Yo les voy a continuar dando más detalles. Más adelante volvemos con ustedes al estudio.
Así es, Freixys.
And we'll be bringing you live returns throughout the night. And coming up, we'll check in with the Wolf campaign at 9:30 when he's expected to take the podium for that acceptance speech.
Yep, and so make sure you guys stay with Temple Update throughout the rest of the night as we bring more breaking news live updates to the elections across America. Again, this is across America. Again, this is election night 2018. Make sure you stick with us and we will take you back to your regularly scheduled programming.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming now to bring you Governor Wolf's acceptance speech live in York.
Profess, regardless of your gender. Pennsylvania has to be a fairer place, and you understood that, and you voted for that. Today, you voted for a stronger economy. You voted for family-sustaining jobs. You voted to protect seniors. You voted to protect women. Today, you also voted for a public service that actually has integrity, that you can trust. That you can trust to be competent, that you can trust to be honest. And today you voted for a Pennsylvania that has a really bright future. So what we are doing is continuing a really good journey toward that bright future that we all deserve. And I'm proud of what we've already done together. But 4 years ago, I stood before you and I said, you know, we have a lot of work to do. So let's get started. Tonight, I have basically the same message. We still have a lot of work to do. So let's get back to work, all right?
And you guys were just listening to Governor Tom Wolf and his victory speech in York, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for tuning into TUTV. We now take you back to your regularly scheduled programming. Hello and welcome back to Temple Update. I'm John Dowding.
And I'm Cassie, Semyon. Just a few minutes ago, you heard from Governor Wolf, who has been elected to 4 more years as Pennsylvania governor.
Right now, we're going to check in with Casey Baylor, who is at the Wagner campaign headquarters to see what the reaction is there. Hey, Casey, what's going on at the campaign headquarters? Can you tell us anything about how they're feeling after Wolf is projected to win?
Yeah, John and Cassie, so as you guys said, we just got word that Governor Tom Wolf has delivered his acceptance speech for re-election at his watch party. But let me tell you, the atmosphere here still has not changed. As you can look around, as I said before, the energy is still high in the room. Many are still upbeat and not much has changed around here. You can see laughs and conversations continuing as the night passes, and some, as you can see, have not moved from that TV board watching the numbers of other state elections as they continue to roll in. Now, we went to Wagner's team for comment, but they said that they were too busy. We're also still waiting on Republican candidate Scott Wagner to arrive and address. We will let you know when he does. John and Cassie.
Thank you, Casey. Now let's check in with Zuri Hoffman, who is at the Tom Wolf campaign headquarters. Hey, Zuri, what's the feeling going on over there?
Joined here live by Nate Rivera. He He's a student that helped with canvassing efforts here in York. So Nate, thank you for being with us tonight. How does it feel, all of your efforts and hard work, how does it feel that it paid off tonight and York is tonight with the governor again serving his second term here in Pennsylvania?
Well, I feel like this is a good accomplishment that we made. You know, we worked long hours just to go out and tell people to go vote for Tom Wolf, you know, is put a lot of hard work in. Glad it paid off. You know, we actually need Tom Wolf he's a good governor. He's making PA a better place for people like us.
So tell us a little bit about CASA in action. I heard that you spent around 2 months canvassing, so tell us a little bit about that.
It's a great experience. CASA in action, they're very friendly people. You know, we're all about the community. We're here to help everybody out.
All right, thank you for being with us. So guys, you heard it. Governor Tom Wolf elected again for a second term here in Pennsylvania. So with that, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
In Pennsylvania has been called for Mary Gay Scanlon. She's the Democrat running against Pearl Kim. And now this is the first time since 2014 that a woman from Pennsylvania will head to Washington as part of the Pennsylvania delegation.
And also with that race alert, we are also hearing back numbers from the Tennessee Senate race. According to CNN, it looks like Representative Marsha Blackburn, the Republican, is projected to win. We are getting numbers again from CNN that has been updated since this last graphic was put out. And it's saying that Marsha Blackburn, the Republican, is projected to win. And she would actually be the first female senator to represent Tennessee in the Senate.
So let's check in now with Missouri. So Missouri, it looks like Claire McCaskill is facing an uphill battle with only 15% of the vote counted. She's at 37.9% against Republican Josh Hawley, who's at 58.8% of the votes. That's a seat that, you know, was a very tough one. We saw President Trump there the last 2 weeks really campaigning hard for Josh Hawley against Claire McCaskill.
And now we're going to take a look at the Florida governor's race, which is extremely almost too close to call. However, it looks like in the race, Ron DeSantis has a slight lead above Democratic Andrew Gillum. He has 49.9% of the vote. Ron DeSantis has 49.9% of the vote to Andrew Gillum's 48.9% of the vote, with 98% of the votes counted. And again, we are going to take a quick break, and we are going to have an update for our Spanish speakers right here on Temple Update.
Don't go anywhere.
Aquí estamos de regreso en el centro electoral. Ahora les tenemos a ustedes unos resultados sobre las elecciones más ardientes del momento. Vamos primero con la campaña del gobernador Wolf contra el republicano Scott Wagner. Ahí están viendo los resultados. Ahí ven que el gobernador Tom Wolf ha ganado con 66%. Y esa es una proyección por CNN y ABC. Y también aquí en Pensilvania, los demócratas están ganando. AP ha anunciado que el segundo distrito ha ganado Brendan Boyle con 78%, como lo ven ahí, contra David Torres, que tenía 21% de los votos. Y ahora estamos con la campaña del tercer distrito, donde Dwight Evans, otro demócrata, ha ganado con 77% de los votos. Esta es una proyección de AP. Y ahora vamos con una proyección que ha causado historia. Mary Gay Scanlon ha ganado el Distrito 5 aquí en Pensilvania con 62% de los votos. Mary Gay Scanlon se ha convertido en la primera mujer para representar a Pensilvania en el Congreso en Washington, D.C. desde el 2014. Ahora, por último, vamos a una campaña que hemos seguido por mucho tiempo del Senado en Tennessee. ABC ha anunciado que la republicana Marsha Blackburn ha perdido contra Phil con 62% de los votos. Eso es todo lo que le tenemos aquí en el centro electoral. Regresamos más tarde con algo más.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We will be back later at 10 o'clock with an update. Hopefully we'll hear from Wagner at that party with Casey Baylor.
And again, stay tuned to Temple Update. We will now take you back to your regularly scheduled programming. Hello and welcome back to Temple Update. I'm John Dowding.
And I'm Cassie. Semyon. All night long, we've had team coverage from across the state. We're expecting to hear from Republican Scott Wagner, who lost the governor's race to Tom Wolf. Casey Baylor is at his party right now. But first, we're going to check in with Zuri Hoffman, who is at the Wolf campaign. Zuri, what can you update us with?
Yeah, guys, you heard it here. Tom Wolf re-elected for a second term. He will be back in Harrisburg to serve another 4 years, along with his running mate, John Fetterman, who, of course, will replace the current Lieutenant Governor, Mike Stack. So things have certainly slowed down in here, but I'll tell you, the energy is still extremely high. This was a hard-fought race, and people here are excited that the governor, again, will be back in Harrisburg to serve yet another second term. One of his most important tasks is to now gear up for the drawings of the congressional map, which will happen in 2 years in 2020. So big things are on the agenda. In his speech tonight, he, of course, thanked all of those who made this possible. And the message from Wolf is, in his words, let's get back to work. So for now, we're live in York, Pennsylvania, reporting for Temple Update. I'm Zuri Hoffman. I'll send it back to you all in the studio.
Thank you so much, Zuri, for your coverage all night long. We really appreciate it. And now let's check in with the Pennsylvania Senate.
So the Pennsylvania Senate race, a couple hours ago, it was declared that the winner of the Pennsylvania Senate race is Senator Bob Casey. Again, he was going against Representative Lou Barletta, and with only 46% of the votes counted, however, Senator Bob Casey is the projected winner. And now taking a look at the PA House races.
So now Scott Wallace is projected neck and neck with Representative Brian Fitzpatrick with only 17% of the vote counted. So long ways from completed tonight. There's still a long way to go.
We're almost over, but they got a long way to go. Now Pennsylvania 7, we're going to take a look at the race between Representative Suzanne Wild and Representative Marty Nothstein. With only 13% of the vote counted, Susan Wild has a lead over Representative Nothstein, 59.9% to 37.6% of the vote. Again, only 13% of the vote counted as of now.
And of course, we're going to continue to update you with these numbers while we might be off the air tonight. We will have a full recap of Election Night 2018 on Thursday, live at 10 a.m. when Temple Update hits the air.
Yes.
So it'll be a really exciting night to see what happens with the House and the Senate. This is a huge election. I think we're really kind of surprised about the returns we're seeing.
And the other thing is too, you know, we don't know where the House is going, but we do know right now. We do have an update at the New Jersey Senate race. Again, the declared winner for the New Jersey Senate race before was Bob Menendez. However, we're going to take a look at the New Jersey 3rd Congressional District. Right now, with 28% of the vote counted, it looks like incumbent Representative Tom MacArthur has a measurable lead over his challenger, Democrat Andy Kim. Again, that is another, was one of the toss-ups listed throughout the country that was, again, right across the river in New Jersey. So there's still so many more votes to be counted, and we'll have a full update of that on Thursday morning on Temple Update.
And now let's check in with Casey Baylor. She's at the Wagner campaign headquarters tonight. Now, we haven't really heard from Wagner himself. You know what? Let's head to break first. We'll check in with Casey in just a little bit. When we come back, we will check in with our Ultimo team. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Con nosotros.
Y bueno, muchísimas gracias por continuar con la sintonía. Toda la noche le hemos estado informando de lo que ha pasado con estas elecciones de medio término 2018 por parte de Pensilvania. Aún estamos observando esta carrera y se trata del Distrito 1 en cuanto a la Cámara de Representantes. Ahí tenemos al candidato Scott Wallace y tenemos a Brian Fitzpatrick. Como vemos, el demócrata y el republicano pues están ahí bien pegaditos. En cuanto al distrito número 7, Susan Wild y Marty Nothstein, como vemos, la demócrata lleva la delantera ante el republicano hasta ahora, pero solo el 13% de los votos están contados hasta ahora. O sea que hay un largo camino aún por recorrer. Pero por parte del Senado y el gobernador, ¿qué está pasando, Rafael?
Bueno, los demócratas siguen ganando aquí en Pensilvania. El gobernador Tom Wolf ha sido reelegido para servir como gobernador por 4 años más. Y como estamos viendo ahí, él ha ganado con 66% de los votos. Y también el senador Casey ha sido reelegido para servir en Washington, D.C. por 6 años más para representar el estado de Pensilvania como senador. Y eso es algo súper interesante porque si recordamos al 2016, Pensilvania decidió que iban a apoyar al presidente Donald Trump. Y ahora estamos viendo que ha sido un poco un cambio, ¿no? Ahora están apoyando a los demócratas. Bueno, eso es todo aquí por nuestra cobertura en español. Seguimos con la cobertura en inglés. Y de parte del equipo de Lo Último, muchas gracias por su sintonía.
Si desean más información, recuerden que Lo Último viene el jueves a las 3 de la tarde por TUTV, así que manténganse conectados con nosotros para más información y un resumen de lo que está ocurriendo todavía durante la noche con las elecciones. Muchísimas gracias y buenas noches.
Muy buenas noches.
Welcome back. Now, Cassie, it seems like tonight we're not seeing the blue wave that's been expected from Democrats across the country so far.
Definitely not. We've seen a lot of Democrats in key races that they thought that they had a grip on. They're not doing so well in those early returns. Now, it's a long night, so we can't predict what's going to happen, but I'm just as surprised as you are with the returns, the way the Democrats were talking about this blue wave, but Republicans have been saying not so fast. Don't count us out of this race yet. But I'm really waiting to see how President Trump is going to react to these key wins.
He has been pretty silent for the most part of tonight.
Yeah,
I haven't seen his Twitter feed at all yet. But
I know, we've been on the air, so we haven't seen it, but we'll check in with that later on when we're off the air. Let's take a look one more time at the Pennsylvania Senate. So Senator Bob Casey has won re-election, 6 more years in the Senate with 57.7% of the vote. 46% of the vote has been counted, but he's being called the winner already by ABC, by CNN, by a lot of outlets. So I'm waiting to see. We haven't heard if he's officially given his acceptance speech.
And now looking at one of the most contentious House races across the country, one of the ones that everybody is looking at is Pennsylvania's 1st congressional district. That's against Democrat Scott Wallace and, as you can see, Republican Representative Brian Fitzpatrick. Now, Brian Fitzpatrick is an incumbent. However, as of now, he and his challenger are tied neck and neck, 49.6%, with only 17% of the vote counted. So there is no clear-cut shot at seeing who's going to win as of now. There's still so much left to be counted.
And now the Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf has been declared the winner with only 17% of the vote counted. He has 66.2% of the vote, and his Republican challenger Scott Wagner has 32.4% of the vote. Now we're still waiting. We've heard from Governor Wolf almost an hour ago now. So we're still waiting to hear from Scott Wagner for that concession speech. The last time we talked to Casey, he hadn't even entered the building yet. So we're not really sure when we're going to hear from him. He was supposed to speak at 10. It's now a little after 10 after. So no word yet as to when we will hear from the Republican challenger, Scott Wagner.
Okay, and we're being told that somebody from the Wagner campaign is speaking right now, so we are going to take a quick look at what's going on in York, Pennsylvania. Hopefully Scott Wagner is expected to speak. Again, you're watching live from York, Pennsylvania.
These most important values, and in hope in some small part that I can contribute to improving the level of civil discourse in our Commonwealth. And in so doing, improve the lives of the Pennsylvanians that Scott and I and our whole team have fought so very hard to represent. So before I ask Scott and Tracy to come out with their family and introduce him, hard to say it, right, for the last time as his running mate, I just want to thank you all again. From the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of my wife Cheryl and our whole family, this truly has been the journey of a lifetime. I'm so grateful for everything you've done to keep us on this way and keep us energized. I will never forget what you've done for us, and I hope at some point down the road I can start to repay that incredible debt that I owe to each and every one of you. And so with that, I'm going to call up Scott and Tracy and their family. And before I do that, I just want to say that I've stood side by side with this man for almost exactly 12 months. I've known him for almost 2 years. No one works harder. No one cares more about the people of Pennsylvania. No one's put more of himself, his own time, his treasure, everything he has into this campaign. It has been a privilege and an honor to serve by his side. I desperately wish that we would have had an opportunity to work together over the next 8 years. And anything Scott Wagner would ever need from me, he would only have to call or text or just shout. I'm sure I'd hear it. And I'd come running for him. He's that kind of guy. And so with that, it is my honor, my privilege to welcome up on stage my dear friend and the man who's worked so hard for all of us, Scott Wagner.
Wow. Look at this crowd. It's great to be here. Listen, it's hard to believe that it was almost 5 years ago that we made a decision to run for the Senate. Yeah. So it's been quite a journey for Tracy. My father Jack's here, my mother Ann, my sister Sue, Catherine, my daughter, Christina, my daughter, Quinn, our daughter, and Logan, our son. We're all here with us. So listen, I don't have a prepared speech. You know, I've told you all, I'm not trying to be politically correct, so I'm not going to be politically correct. But listen, let me just tell you. I did, you know, it is hard to believe that, you know, August of 2013 was 5 years ago that I announced my candidacy, and everybody knows the story, you know, write-in campaign, first ever, go into the Senate, and then in the 15-16 year, we were able to increase the majority from 27 to 34. Just an amazing feat, and I'm proud of it. And then in last year, hard to believe, January 17th, I announced my candidacy. And I've been telling this story. I had 380 events last year, event meetings. And I think one Sunday evening, I had an event at our Northeast campaign office in Philly, and that was 737. That's easy because I always remember Boeing 737. So we were in Philadelphia. We were out on the trail yesterday, and we were in Philadelphia today, and we voted, and then here, and then we went to Delaware County. But I will tell you that
that was Scott Wagner conceding the governor's race in York. Now let's head to Scranton, where Bob Casey is giving his acceptance speech as Senator of Pennsylvania.
Phone call, and we talked for a couple of minutes. I said I've been on both ends of these kinds of calls. I've lost and I've won. We had a very good conversation, wishing each other well, wishing our families well, and then talking about getting together in the future. I'm so grateful for that phone call. In this difficult time for our nation, to have a phone call like that between two people running against each other was something I guess we don't see enough of in American politics. I'm grateful for the call, and I'm also grateful for his willingness to seek public office in Pennsylvania, for his service as a member of the House, and we know that he and his family will have a bright future, and we wish them well on this night. I have a lot of thank yous. I'll try not to keep it too long, but I have a lot of thank yous, and I'm going through every one of them that I wrote down on this piece of paper. So just bear with me for a moment, but I want to start with my wife, Therese. Anyone who's the spouse of a public official at any level who's been through a lot of campaigns know how much the candidate appreciates the contributions of a spouse. My wife, Therese, has been through a lot of elections. This is the 6th general election that I've been involved in, and I'm grateful for her support over and over again, the way she holds our family together in these difficult campaigns. Therese, I want to thank you for that, and even though she lost her voice tonight, I'm glad she wrote down a lot for the permanent record. Of course, my daughters, and I'll start youngest to oldest because in my last election, I named 3 of them, and then there was a pause, and someone gave me a nudge that I left out Marina. So I'll start this time youngest to oldest. Our youngest daughter, Marina. Our second youngest, Julia. Caroline. Elise and Michael, her husband. Teresa's parents, John and Nancy Fabiano, are here. And her sisters, Jane and Lisa's husband, Dan Casey, is here as well. No relation, by the way. We have the same last name. And I know Stephen, Jane's husband, is working. We're grateful that Stephen has supported us all these years as well. My mother, Ellen Casey. I want to thank her for her great support. The first time my father ran in a general election statewide was 50 years ago this year. So my mother's been through a lot of election nights. And we're grateful she's with us tonight. My brothers and sisters are here, and their spouses. And of course, we're thinking of my father tonight, not just in the context of an election, but we're of course thinking about his life of service and his life of commitment to our Commonwealth.
Now that's Bob Casey in Scranton giving his acceptance speech tonight for the senatorship of Pennsylvania. At the same time, Lou Barletta was giving his concession speech in Hazleton.
And also right now, Temple Update can give you a latest update of a race alert in Texas. The Senate race is being called by ABC and NBC News in favor of incumbent Senator Ted Cruz. Again, that is coming from ABC News and NBC News at this time.
So thank you so much for joining us on Election Night 2018. It's been quite a night.
It's been a long night.
It's even longer for some people. I mean, we're going to be...
Polls are still open.
Yeah, we're going to be watching these polls as they come in, and we will have the latest for you on Thursday, live at 10 a.m. on Temple Update.
And make sure you guys follow us on social media at Temple Update on all social media platforms. And as we said before, watch us at 10 a.m. on Thursday morning. And for Cassie, Semyon, and the rest of the Temple Update crew, I'm John Dowding. Thank you so much for watching.
Have a good night.